Good evening. Welcome to Four Lads, Rangers Midweek Podcast, live with your two, well, we used to be your favourites. And then Monday night's live show started, and apparently we upset quite a few. We are happy, I promise. Kenny, good evening. How are you?
I'm all right. Apologies to everybody I triggered on Monday night. That's a lesson learned. I'll not do another podcast when I was on a two-day bender just previously, maybe because I come across incredibly negative. And when I watched it back, I was like, oh my goodness. And it wasn't intentional. It's just, as I say, I think my demeanour was appalling, and some of the stuff that I said was a bit over the top. And I genuinely mean this. I'm actually quite happy that Derek McInnes is on his way. So apologies to everybody.
Well, I don't think apologies are needed because it's supposed to be authentic, isn't it? It's supposed to be real. And we both said we really wanted Derek McInnes. We were both really happy, but we were just a bit... There's some context to it, some wee things we're worried about, and that just came over in the wrong way. So... Listen, I think every opinion, whether you agree with it or not, is valid. So yeah, I think I'm glad that we're on so soon to be able to. I done a wee tester last night, a wee half an hour just to see how hated we were, but we're good, we're okay.
Well, you are. I'm not quite so sure about me. I think it's something that. We'll put it this way, I'm a wee bit nervy about tonight, which is something I never get, and is nervous when I come on to do a podcast, particularly when Grado's calling you out in his own podcast as well, which was really funny. I
don't know about this. What happened?
A pint and two shots. He says he was watching us. He says, and he really likes Stevie. The other guy, Kenny, talking about only ever having one League Cup, and it was a risk. And he wasn't. Just,
do you know the thing is? I listened to the pod back, and it was me that brought that up. It was me that said it first.
Is that right?
Well, I'm you under the bus a wee bit.
I don't want Grado falling in me, for goodness sake. That's not good.
Right, folks.
You know what it is, Stevie? I think sometimes when we're on together, we forget that, and I do sometimes, you actually forget it's a live podcast. You're just giving away to your mate. So you kind of forget sometimes that people don't like some of the stuff you say.
But yeah, right, okay. So everybody's tuning in to find out where Derek McInnes is. And we're waiting. This afternoon, Rangers said the deal was very close. That was just at the back of 3. Well, it's now just past 6 o'clock, and I think I'm close. Never mind Rangers. Where is he? But no, all joking aside, listen, Derek McInnes is the new Rangers manager on a 3-year deal. His backroom staff, as I revealed last night, are Paul Sheeran and Alan Archibald will join him, according to reports. So there's a potential. I think the boy Clark, is it? Clark from the ex-Kilmarnock coach. The one that was supposed to be joining them at Hearts might just default and join them at Rangers. But Derek McInnes is currently still in the USA. And there'll be no big RTV stuff or anything like that, because that'll be done when he gets back. So he's back at weekend. He'll be ready to start training with the boys on Monday when the boys return. I said last night, Kenny, that I thought McInnes next couple of days, and then it would be over the weekend, him arriving back, Monday morning training, Monday afternoon press conference. That's my kind of guesswork.
Yeah, and that sounds really plausible, actually. That's probably exactly what will happen, because he is still in the States, so nothing's going to happen any time immediately. So welcome aboard, looking forward to it, and let's see how he does, because he's a good manager, we know that, and let's see if he could take the step up and work his way through this squad, see what he thinks he wants and needs in pre-season, Stevie, and having that budget is going to give him a freedom that perhaps he's not had before. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does with it, because it'll be interesting.
Just to reiterate, Kenny and I don't know what time this announcement is. It could even happen live on this show. Hopefully, we normally get the heads up with these things. So let's see what's what time. But Kenny, Danny Rohl has gone. That announcement went out at 11:25 from Rangers today. And then, 2 minutes later, the picture of Danny Rohl taking training in Salzburg and ready to go. There's a part of me, there's a part of me that thinks that he's jumped a wee bit too soon, that he couldn't wait to get out of here, everything else. And that's the negative side of me coming out. And, my wee bromance with him is over. It's affected me a lot. I don't see Dale going round everybody and getting a handshake and a hug. So, I'm going to have to kind of deal with this. Kenny, Danny Rohl has gone. Have you got any kind of final words of encouragement or anything on Danny Rohl?
No, not that's already been said, Stevie. Look, the situation is that I said this on Monday, and I don't want to get any stick for this one, so I'll repeat it, that something doesn't add up with it. It doesn't add up with it all, because just a month ago, he was saying he was all in, and the board were more than happy to give him the pre-season and give him that's exactly what they said. They wanted to give him the pre-season, and he's went away. The only thing I could say, in fairness to Danny Rohl, as a reason for Danny Rohl doing this, maybe, is that we've got a guy that's been in the Red Bull kind of network for 9 years. That's where he was for 9 years. So you have to perhaps take that into account and say that if he's been offered what is probably the second biggest job at Red Bull, then the progression that you can take, being a German, working in Austria, getting the great opportunity to be successful there, to go and become the Leipzig manager, which is probably his dream job if you think about it, because it's where he comes from, isn't it? So that's probably the reasoning for it. He said that he liked the ambition, and he knows Salzburg has been there many, many times to watch them. So I'm not sure if it had been many other jobs he would have been particularly keen to move, but I think this one is just, it really suits him. So I'll reiterate it again. I'll say this one more time, that I am more than delighted that Derek McInnes is in preference to Danny Rohl for the start of next season, because I think we have a better chance to succeed under Derek McInnes than we did, or we would have had, under Danny Rohl. And I genuinely believe that, because I just couldn't see us winning the league under Danny, and that's my kind of take on it.
Well, the problem with Danny, I think, was, and I don't think anybody will mind me saying this, if it took that, what happens if the first 6 games, right, we drew twice and lost 1 and won 3, which is, by the way, it's like World Cup form compared to what we started with last year. That would be a disastrous start for any Rangers head coach. For Danny Rohl, it would be noise from the crowd. It would be time to get rid. I think that's fair, or the pressure would be even more. So there's too much, as Stephen just says, there's too much baggage and trauma behind Danny Rohl. And I think that's fair. People would have listened to me and say that I really liked him and I was fond of him. People ask me on socials, they ask me on here, do you think it's the right time for him to go? And I said yes, because I know this club. Like, I know what the social media and I know what the supporters are like inside the ground. I lived it last year with Russell Martin, when almost immediately, Kenny, we were at his very first friendly game where they were 2-0 down to Bruges at half-time. Unfortunately, we weren't 2-0 down to Bruges in the real game, but remember that game, and you could tell the atmosphere after 10 minutes. They were on his back immediately, and you could immediately tell this wasn't going to work. So sometimes the mood music on social media is a representation of the support, and I just felt the support was too far gone by the time this season was due to start with Danny Rohl. So a fresh start, the way it's worked for us. Could you argue the board have played a blinder? Maybe they have. You made a comment there as well. Something seems a bit off about it. And what I take from you saying that, right, is that, and I feel it too, there's no way suddenly they just knew about RB's interest. There's no way suddenly that Derek McInnes was like this. They did say there was a 4-man shortlist. They released Kevin Muscat, Steven Gerrard, and Derek McInnes' names. there's no way all that happened, right? And then all of a sudden, it was just a case of, Derek McInnes is the manager. Steven Gerrard suddenly appeared in Glasgow, staying at Gleneagles, I think it was. He was in Glasgow conveniently. Kenny, I think I share your cynicism. There's something, is that the right word? Yes, it is. Sometimes I just make up words. I feel that you're right. And we're right to probably think that there's maybe things going on behind the scenes. And by the way, see the fact that things were going on behind the scenes and we didn't know about it, then that's great. However, you've got your wee story, haven't you? Because your pal told you about this and you were kind of the same one, I think, that told you about the Tab thing. And I remember you came into the press conference that night and said that Tab's been dropped, and we all looked at you and said, Kenny, it's his final game. And sure enough, half an hour later, you were very right. So I kind of agree with you. I think it has went on behind the scenes, and I think it's also great, and it's a sign of the club finally grown up in a way that none of that music came out until it was reported by the boy on German Sky, wasn't it? Plefov, that big guy, long name. So he's gone, and that's kind of where it is. But I agree with you, Kenny. There's definitely been movement that we don't know about, and the club have played it, and they've done well to do it quickly. I say quickly, but sometime today would be wonderful.
Yeah, well, I think the BBC were reporting there that they expect something imminent tonight, but that's what they're saying. Who knows? On the whole thing about the board, yeah, I think probably the board have played a blinder, because if you're looking at it logically and reasonably, you would turn around and say Danny Rohl's quite untested. Derek McInnes. When I said he was a risk, I mean every manager's a risk. I didn't necessarily mean that he was a risky appointment. I just think that it's one of those situations where it's probably more of a risk for Derek McInnes, because he's had such a successful season last season, to come here and actually fix us more than anything else. However, on the board, for me, I would look at it and say, yeah, they probably have played a blinder, as you say, Stevie. But you can't tell me that they didn't have an inkling about Red Bull's interest, because, well, put it this way, as you say, the quick story about one of our sponsors here actually told me that he had got a message, or he'd been talking to one of his clients. The news broke last Thursday. This was a week prior on the Monday, so a good 10 days previous. And one of his clients had said to him that he had heard on good authority that Danny Rohl was off to RB Oxford. And that's quite unusual for that to be under wraps for that amount of time, isn't it? You would probably expect to hear something, but nobody heard it until the Thursday, Stevie. Now, whether it's true or not, I genuinely don't know. It's just that one of the lads that I know told me that, so fair enough. But look, onwards and upwards when it comes to it, because I'm a disappointed he's gone. Not really, Stevie, I've got to be honest. I really liked the first few months. And then he's only there for 8 months, Stevie. In the first 4 months, I was like, yeah, I'm liking this. And for the last 2 or 3, I genuinely didn't enjoy much of that at all. The highlight for me would have probably been the Hearts game at home, where I thought we were very, very good in the first half against Celtic, and then a capitulation in the second half. Other than that, I don't think there was a huge amount to write home about with Danny Rohl, without being, as I say, disparaging or anything about him. I just think that we're in safer and better hands with Derek McInnes, a Scotsman, a proud Rangers man at that. So we know he is. I think you said it on Monday, and I'll steal it now. I think it's probably the stability that the board are looking for. That you're looking at it and saying, right, we know that we can have this guy for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it's going to be. And as long as he gets the team moving, which everybody will expect him to, then you can see him being here for a long time, Stevie. That's a good thing.
Yeah, there is a capability of that, isn't there? Or a potential, rather, is a better word. Kenny, I've highlighted this comment. I think I would probably, before I go into the comment, there's a reason why I highlight it. On Danny Rohl, I'd like to wish Danny Rohl all the best. I thought, in terms of off the field at the club, the way he conducted himself, I thought he was spot on the way he done it. the big blooper I think Kane could have handled that whole thing easier. And that's been the blot against his copyright, I think, in terms of handling the squad. But where we were, what he took us from and where he went, I've got to be honest and say that I thank Danny. He fell short. It's probably the right thing for everybody. That 4-game horror run after the split was pretty horrendous and difficult to recover from, Kenny. So, final word on Danny Rohl. I wish him all the best.
Yeah. Again, on Danny Rohl, but that's the one thing I would 100% agree up with you on. See, behind the scenes, he was fantastic to deal with, wasn't he? He was really, really good. And just a different kind of culture that he comes from. And it was not, it might sound kind of almost like a bit meh or a bit nothing to some people, but it was actually a nice touch. It was a personal touch where he would go around everybody and shake their hand and stuff like that after every press conference. As you say, I don't think you'll get many managers doing that, mate. But look, good. I wish him all the best. He was a nice person. There is no doubt. He's a nice guy. However, in terms of what Rangers needed, I had became less convinced as the season went on. I've got to be honest. I just felt. I think it was. I can't remember. Was it the Hearts game or whatever? But I felt that he should have probably. That was my kind of mind made up, Stevie. That this isn't going to work because if you're winning, and I think people maybe forget that we went up. We took the lead against Hearts and Celtic after the split and couldn't hold on to it. And that's a disappointment for me. And it shows you that other managers are capable of tweaking things and kind of countering what he was doing. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Derek McInnes can do, mate. I really am.
We'll talk about Derek in a wee bit again. But let's talk about his assistants because they have brought a fair bit of negativity, shock, horror, Kenny, from the support. Alan Archibald and Paul Sheeran, all of a sudden there's massive conversations about them being Celtic fans, rancid Celtic fans, apparently, according to Dado. My understanding is that Paul Sheeran's a Hearts fan and that Alan Archibald is a Rangers man. Away back in the glory days of Champman, Kenny, I mean the glory days, Alan Archibald was a left-sided centre-back you could pick up cheap and he was quality because he was a lefty. I was under the impression Alan Archibald was a Rangers fan. So, listen, I think that Derek McInnes is a very switched-on guy when it comes to the Rangers support, when it comes to what goes on at Ibrox, what it comes to what it's all about. I'm pretty sure Paul Sheeran also scored for Inverness against Celtic in that 3-1 victory. Somebody might be able to correct me. I'm sure he scored the last one, but that's by the by. How much does it matter, Kenny, if they are big Celtic men? And what do you say to that? Surely Derek McInnes would know. I don't think for a second they are massive Celtic fans. Surely it's a question that's going to be put to Derek McInnes on his press conference. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but how much do you think it's going to affect him? Because the crowd are going to pick up on that. You know what we're like, Kenny. But if Derek McInnes can trust them, shouldn't we? Where do we go with that?
Well, I'm going to be very careful with my words here, right? But you think of the stick that I took on Monday night for some of the stuff that I said, and if you're all in on Derek McInnes, why would this matter? That's what I would say. If you're all in and you want Derek McInnes, you have to trust his judgment, surely. I was under the impression that Alan Archibald is a Rangers supporter. I remember him, but he's like one of us now, Stevie. I can remember him when he had hair and everything. He's a bald guy now, so he's one of us. But on Paul Sheeran, I don't know. And how much does it matter? It'll matter to people if they are Celtic supporters, mate. Of course it is. But you're questioning Derek McInnes's ability and awareness, and you're questioning their professionalism right away. Now, I don't know. It's a nuance that we have, Stevie, that you know, it's just one of those things that Rangers and Celtic ex-players, you know, fans, you know, you don't tend to integrate or mix. So it is a situation that if this was to be the case, but I couldn't tell you about Paul Sheeran at all. I don't know, but I was under the impression that Alan Archibald was a Rangers fan. So I don't know. Stevie is the answer, and I'm watching what I see. So
surely, if Derek McCann and Alan Archibald are Rangers men and Paul Sheehan's maybe not, they would just slap him out around a bit. You know what I mean? Make him do the dodgy jobs, pick up all the boots, sweep the dressing rooms and all that. You know what I mean? Makes perfect sense to me, Kenny.
It's exactly what I would do with them, to be
honest. Don't worry, Kenny. Anybody that was annoyed with you on Monday night is just now back to being your best pal. That's exactly what I would do with him. Dear, oh dear. Somebody called us Waldorf and Stadler the other night because we were so miserable. So I enjoyed that one. Listen, there's been plenty of players in the past, none more than Neil McCann, who was brought up a Celtic fan. Our very own Maurice Johnston, who, has broken them lots and lots. So, we know they're coming.
I'm going to go and get what I mean right away, Stevie, that if Derek McInnes feels that they're going to help him perform better, you have to trust him, trust his judgment. If you are not trusting what he is trying to do on the very first decision he makes, God help him, honestly.
So the other coach that's been linked with us is Craig Clark, who's departed Kilmarnock. Lifelong Killie fan. He's just secured his UEFA Pro license. It was understood that he was going to be reuniting with Derek McInnes at Hearts, but that means it's a bit unclear. He's definitely leaving Killie, or has left Killie. I would expect him to be at Rangers very soon with him. That would bring 3 with them, and then you would have Sal Bibo and Scott Fry there. Yeah. And I think that makes up, along with Stevie Smith, you've got 6 there. I don't see much more being needed from Derek McInnes' backroom staff. So I think you might see that being there and thereabouts has been settled.
You would presume so, Stevie, yeah, because you don't want too many either. That's the thing. And if he's bringing different types of people and different types of coaches in, then, as I say, he'll get my trust on it for a start. That's for sure. If he genuinely feels that the best possible way or method of him succeeding at Rangers includes these guys, fair enough. That's all I'm going to say. Fair enough.
I don't think it's worth getting too worked up on. We always like to have something that we can chew the fat over, I suppose. Kenny, let's deviate away from. I want to get your opinion on a couple of things. Let's deviate away from the talk about Derek McInnes. We'll go back to it, but I had a rare chuckle to myself because Bailey Rice. This will be the 145th time we've talked about it in the last couple of weeks, but he is a stick on to go where on loan, Kenny? Kilmarnock. And your old pair here, along with, by the way, plenty of comments, plenty of people suggest it, so I suppose we can't really steal it. But that is the big moment.
Yeah, well, I read that today that Neil McCann seems to be leading the race to get Bailey Rice down to Rugby Park. Now, that suggests that there's maybe more than one interested party in getting him out on loan, and it's good that the discussions have been had because it means that they've obviously Bailey and his family and stuff like that have obviously wanted to know what Rangers have in mind for them, and they've been agreeable to whatever it is, or they've worked it out between them. Put it that way, the best way forward for Bailey is to perhaps go on loan for a period of time and then come back and be ready, which is exactly what I've said, Stevie. I genuinely believe that Bailey Rice has the talent, and I mean, there's a boy I know that he's a couple of years below him at the pro youth level, and the way he raved about Bailey Rice and the way Motherwell. Now they've had some good players, the Lenny Millers and the I can't remember the boy's name. Boy went to Celtic. I don't know where he is. He's down in Swansea or Cardiff now. Name escapes me. I beg your pardon, but they all said at Motherwell that Bailey Rice was the best young talent they'd ever seen. So for me, that onus is on Rangers to get that boy where he needs to be. And good luck to the boy, because he's a good player, and I hope when he goes out on loan, he does well. When he comes back, he smashes it, because we can't have enough young Scottish talent, Stevie. We just can't.
Yeah, a lot of people saying it's been announced that Derek McInnes is the new Rangers manager. I've looked on the website and looked on X there, and I don't see any notice of, unless I've just forgot. Maybe Kenny, maybe they've just thought they've done it like already, and they're just all away on holiday. But I don't have any notifications from the club. I don't have anything on Twitter. I don't have anything on their site. So Chris Jack is normally the one to tell me. Chris messaged me just before. I said to him just before 6, anything? And he says, no, Rangers' last thing was we're getting closer. I said, I'm getting closer. And we both had a laugh. And then he said, no Dell Picks or RTV. He's still in America. And I joked back with him, I really thought that said something else about Picks. And I'm equally disappointed. But that's really it. And Chris would tell me. So that's where we are, folks, with regards to the news. And I think, Kenny, we should get the ban hammer out for people that put unfair speculation on the chat, because I was trying to talk about Bailey Rice and then I got all stumbled halfway through and just muttered something and then quickly went to check.
It's not like you, mate. But look, again, the Derek McInnes announcement we made, whether it's been made or not, I genuinely don't know. My phone's in the kitchen. I always put it out the way when I'm on here. So
I need it for the agenda, though, pal. So
that's the agenda that I write for you.
That you do. Yep, that's your role here.
I know it is.
And you do it very well.
Thank you. But listen,
you're going to criticise me there?
No, not at all. It's a point. You wouldn't listen anyway. As I say, the Bailey Rice thing will take. I'm delighted about that on the Derek McInnes appointment, and it will happen. And whether it's happened or not, I genuinely couldn't tell you, as I say. But it will happen imminently. But I don't see it being happening just now, unless there's literally a 2-minute video from maybe Andrew Kavanagh or Jim Gillespie and Derek McInnes, because they're all away. And I don't know if Andrew Kavanagh's back or Jim Gillespie's back. I couldn't tell you, but I know Derek McInnes is still away. So it will happen when he comes back. I think. I think it is that simple.
Chris reckons there'll be no RTV or pictures or anything, but maybe they should just release one of the previous songs or previous videos with Dale singing songs on it from the mid-90s. No, might work for me. Anyway, let's move on. Kenny, Rangers were linked with Andrea Skov-Olsen for it. Oh, is that such an awful suggestion?
Hay fever, mate.
Aye, Rangers were linked with Andrea Skov-Olsen back in the melting pot, suggesting that we might get him for the chopped price. I think they were saying £2 or £3 million. So here's the thing, right? I'm too messed up when it comes to Andrea Skov-Olsen, because he really was just a superior being in Football Manager. So I expected him to just come in and hit 45 goals like from January. And we didn't even get 4.5 dribbles. And he came on the back of a Wolfsburg first 6 months where he just didn't seem to have any game time or hit the ground running there. So my point is, would a big move to Rangers now, where he gets a good pre-season, would he be better? Would you be willing? And I wouldn't. Right, I'm not paying 3 or 4 million for Scott Olsen. I'm not, especially on super wages like he was. Would I take him for 1 or 2 million on a reasonable wage? Yes, I would, because I think there's something there, right? Whether we can find it or not, and it's worth could Derek McInnes get him to run? That would be the big thing. Ideally, would I take him on another month, on another season-long loan, where there's no, like, you don't have to buy him at the end of it? Then yeah, I would be willing to see where it goes, even if we take him for 6 months. Then I would be interested to see. And that's going to be divisive. I know that, because he didn't really show anything, did he? He had a few touches, a few moments, crossed to the big man when he was doing an overhead kick and all sorts. But aside of that, he's not really done much.
The ability that he has is unquestionable. He didn't show it at Rangers at all in the second half of last season. That's a big disappointment for me. A little bit like yourself there, but I genuinely believe that he would be a game changer for it. He was anything but a game changer. I don't know, Stevie, if I would or not. I'd be very inclined to give it a pass, actually, purely on the fact that the wages he's on would be a problem for me. However, I do agree with you. A new manager, new ideas, and perhaps somebody that he could go all in on might be the thing that he's looking for. Because you actually said something last season where you felt that he had no ambition. The ambition had gone or something like that. And I think you're actually, I don't know if you're spot on. Only he could answer that. But on the surface, that's the way it looked, didn't it? That he just didn't have the drive or the wherewithal to get fully committed to anything. And I found it really odd for a guy that, as I say, having watched enough of him over the years, Stevie, we're both with Denmark and Bruges, he's a fantastic player. So I don't know what's happened to him, but I don't know if I would, as you say, for £1 million, I might, but if you're talking 2.5, 3 million, I wouldn't even pay that for him on the evidence that we've seen last season. No.
I think Karen's right as well. Wolves were trying to get rid of him on the cheap for a reason. Of course they are. Because, and Phil says as well, Olsen just didn't look arsed. Honestly, I think that's absolutely spot on. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the desire. There's still a little bit in me, and it's look, this could be the Scott Wright, Oliver Antman scenario with Stevie again, that I just want them to be good because I kind of like them, and I can't explain why. Like, there's some people that I just take to straight away, and I really want them to be good. There's others that I could never really get the gist of. Like, and I'll talk about this quite a bit and said it before. I remember, like, everybody with Ben Davies. As soon as I seen Ben Davies, I thought, this guy is rubbish. And I wrote a blog slating him, and I got caned for it. And this was about 3 months in. And by 3 months later, everybody was like, this guy's horseshit. And he was. And I quite like, Ben Davies will do well with Bolton, by the way, because he's quite a good passer. He's good positionally, Kenny. See, as soon as he goes up against somebody strong down there, he'll fall all over the place. And what was our game up here? Away to Kilmarnock and stuff like that. He just couldn't handle it. So, yeah, there's some players that I just instantly look at and think they're not going to do well. And there's other guys that instantly look at and think they're not going to do well, but I really want them to. And I probably give them more time than I should. Andreas Skov-Olsen is one of them. Kenny, the other big news, Nico Raskin attracting interest from Atalanta. This is exactly what we want. He came on the other night, didn't he? Belgium were 1-0 down against Egypt. He got rave reviews for his little 20-minute cameo. And people saying that he changed the game. A lot of accounts online saying that. And then all of a sudden, he's been linked with Atalanta. We need Nico to have a good World Cup. That's the absolute key. Rangers Review reported earlier that there's lots of teams interested in Nico. That's great for us. Because there's a lot of things. Everybody knows that I'm a big fan of Nico Raskin. But is the time right? Could it be that, if we're wanting a fresh start, then Nico needs to move on just to remove any doubt away from things? the fans have started to lose trust in him. I think that's fair. There's a lot of people upset with him. He seems to be. We've always got to have somebody in our sights. I feel it's definitely Nico at this moment in time. Here's the thing: if you could get Nico Raskin sold and out the door for 20 million odd, would you then go and spend that on Lewis Ferguson with a wee bit of change? Could you get 15, 20 for Nico? I think you should for a Belgian international with 2 years left on his deal. Then you go and spend that on Lewis Ferguson. Would you then be happy? I spoke about that last night. So that's a question to you, Kenny. Would you trade them up?
Yes. I've got to be honest, I would, yes. And the reason I'll tell you is a simple one. You took me back to something that Gio Van Bronckhorst said many, many years ago when he was a player here, when he turned around. And I think we all remember, Gio kind of chopped it in the last half of the season that he was here. And he actually said...
He got a groin strain and was out for 8 months.
That's right. But he actually admitted when he had left that somebody had down at Arfield, would have been a journalist down there, and they said, I realised that I had been there for just over 2.5 seasons, and we were travelling up to St Johnstone, and I realised it was the 11th time I had played them. And I think that's a staleness that any player's going to get, Stevie, and I think you've seen it a little bit. You always see it with any player, but I think you've seen it a little bit, I'll rephrase that, you see it a little bit more with foreign players. I think that's the issue. I think when it comes to Lewis Ferguson, he's a Rangers fan. He's not going to lose interest. Not that I think Nico's lost interest, so I hope nobody thinks I'm saying that, because I'm not. What I mean is...
Kenny's on the super defensive tonight.
You better fucking believe it, mate. Listen, it's just one of these things that I just look at and think he's got 2 years left on his contract. It is prime time to sell if you're Rangers, and I've said it before, I'd love to see Nico stay for another 3 or 4 years. However, I don't think that's necessarily good for his game. I think that there comes a point when you have to move on and you have to go and progress and play in a better league, and I do think that if you've got the opportunity to go and get Lewis Ferguson and be able to fork out that kind of money. Now, I watched the Scotland game on Saturday night, Sunday morning, and Lewis Ferguson was outstanding. He was the best player on the pitch for me for Scotland anyway. He was superb, and that's the kind of player that we need to hang our hat on, Stevie. So if we could do that, and the fact that Derek McInnes has worked with him up at Aberdeen already, there's not going to be a settling in period for there. Your spine already is taking shape with big Lawrence Shankland and Lewis Ferguson. If that was to happen, that both know exactly what Derek McInnes is looking for, it'd be a massive help to us as a team. I think that you've got guys of that ability, that class, Scottish boys, Rangers fans, everything about it that you can't help but go, yeah, that sounds good to me. If you know what I mean by that.
Yeah. I think that Lewis Ferguson for me would be excellent. I think it would reinvigorate his drive a bit. There is possibly a case you could see that you could see that in Bologna, maybe he's went a wee bit like Raskin has here. I just think that you made an interesting comment. It's been a few people have said it as well, that sometimes it's the right time. Just like it's probably the right time, and we go back to Derek McInnes again, that if Derek McInnes is ever going to take over Rangers after the previous back in 2017, now's the absolute perfect time for Derek McInnes, I feel, to come in at Rangers. So here's why I believe that. He had a good season at Hearts, and he took them pretty close with a squad and a team that I think done extremely well to be as consistent as they were. A lot of people talks about the Jamestown model. That was Derek McInnes' team. The key players in it were all signed by Derek McInnes. He knows this league. He knows the backdrop, Kenny, which we talk about all the time has been really important. He's not going to be fazed by, the first game being away to Hearts, which I feel is a stick on tomorrow when Come on, it'll be a home game for us practically by the time we go and sign half their team at this rate. But I feel like we'll get Hearts away tomorrow, or Aberdeen away. That's the two. It'll be a Derek McInnes, live on Sky, back to his old club. So, not only that, right, but he also knows Rangers. And I said this on Monday, and I want to talk about it again, that he beat us 3 times last year. He knows where the weaknesses are. And he also knows the squad pretty well. And he also knows the league pretty well. So I'm quite confident and quite happy with Derek McInnes coming in and having that level of knowledge and desire to go and really want this Rangers job. The other thing with Derek McInnes is he's now, would I be right in saying that Derek McInnes is 54? Derek McInnes maybe be thinking about 60-year-old chucking this. So Rangers is where he's worked to get to be, in my opinion, and he'll tell you himself tomorrow. So if that's the case, then there's a reason this could bring us the settled period that we've really been looking for. We need him to do well and win things for that really to happen, because you and I both know if he doesn't, then it will not work. But I think the timing is absolutely perfect for Derek for all of those things, and they're all massively positive for me.
Of course. And listen, apparently he knows every single player playing in the SPFL like the back of his hand. He knows, I think he's some kind of crazy stat about how he knows every Scottish player playing and he knows everything about them, kind of thing. He's incredibly thorough and aware of what players can and cannot do. You and I had that discussion a wee while back when we caught wind that it was probably going to be Derek McInnes, and we both said that is the good thing about it. For me, instantly with Derek coming in, I said it to you, he's not disparaging as such about the Rangers team he's going to play or he's just played in the build-up, but he's not overly complimentary about them. And I think that's because at times when he's looked at us, he's went, they're well beatable, they're well gettable. So he's not going to big us up for the sake of it. He always tells everybody they're a good team, very good team, but he knows the weaknesses and he knows the strengths. And for me, that's the kind of thing I'm quite looking forward to with Derek McInnes coming in, is that I think we're going to be surprised with some of the signings that he makes because, again, we discussed this on Monday night, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he brings 2, 3, 4 guys that from the SPFL, from the Premier League, that nobody expects him to bring in just to bolster his squad, and then he goes and spends a lot of money on the quality that he's looking for. Just with that knowledge, perhaps, that how many times have we done that, Steve? You talked about Stally Stensas a couple of weeks ago, where you go and spend 2.5 million quid, and he's an absolute dumpling. And I think Derek McInnes is full away. You can get a good SPFL player better than that, even today, for a fraction of that price. And don't be surprised if he brings some of these guys in. That's what I mean. And then he can go and, with the budget he has, he can spend it on absolute quality. And the Democratic Republic of Congo have just equalised against Portugal.
Somebody called it Dr. Congo in my work the other day, and I chuckled way more than I probably should have. Folks, I didn't say Derek McInnes' announcement tomorrow. I said the fixture list is announced tomorrow. We are still expecting a Derek McInnes announcement today, this evening. Rangers Review reported it as imminent. Sky Sports reporting it as imminent. Imminent's a difficult word when you're Rangers, really. Imminent can be as long as a piece of string. I can guarantee you, though, Kenny, what are we now? We're 10-7. See if we go off, it's 100% getting announced at 7 o'clock, isn't it? We'll hang about to 7. We'll see if it gets announced round about then. We have no inkling either way. And if it's not at 7, we'll bugger off. And it'll be funny because they'll do it at 10 past. So Kilmarnock don't have a plastic pitch anymore. It's grass. They have fixed that, Ian. So Kilmarnock away probably. But Kenny, obviously with Derek's arrival and things like that, transfer rumours have started to slow down a bit. One name that keeps popping up, Cammy Devlin. that he's wanting to take with him. Another name that I suggested that I put on the group chat that people have been talking about is Craig Gordon, about potentially coming with Derek McInnes, which I think would be very funny to see people's reaction. These are two of the names. Devlin we'll talk about first. Cammy Devlin, people are saying it's a no-brainer. I don't believe any signing is a no-brainer. That every time we say it's a no-brainer, they turn out to be shite. And that worries me with players when we say that. Cammy Devlin to me is an interesting one because do I think he's massively better than the players we've got? I don't think he is. I think he's very similar to the players we've got already. So what do you do with that? He's a hard worker, yeah. I think that's right. Day in a life, yeah, he works hard. Kenny, where are you on the Cammy Devlin? I think we would need to get rid of Diamande and Raskin before we brought in Cammy Devlin. Because they're all too alike. Then you've got Barron as well. And, I think they're all very similar. We need a different... We talked about this a lot, a different profile. Cammy Devlin would be good if 3 or 4 of them left. 3 of them left, maybe. Barron, Raskin, Diamande, and Cammy Devlin are all very same, in my opinion. Cammy Devlin might be better. I've not watched a lot of Cammy Devlin. Every time I watch him, he gets yellow carded. So, and he's a busy wee player. He's always putting the boot in. I'm not sure whether or not we need another similar player. Any thoughts, Kenny?
I don't mind him as a player, but I'm going to sit on the fence a little bit in this and kind of agree with you. I actually think we've got far too many players like that already. So yeah, that where you are is probably where I am. Where I would be low to signing him, Stevie, if we've still got Mo Diamande, Nico Raskin, and Connor Barron, and Chuck Whanney for that matter. They're all really quite similar players. Now, Chuck Whanney's a bigger lad, but they're still kind of ball winners. There's no ball carriers there. There's no real creativity amongst that. And that's what we're crying out for. So, yeah, if the likes of Mo Diamande was to go and Nico Raskin is to move on, then yes, bring him in by all means. But we're still, I said it last season, towards the end of last season anyway, I still feel that we're a couple of bodies light in the middle of the park anyway. So I think we've really only got 4 or 5 midfielders that you would be looking at and saying that you would be expecting to be in your first team squad for next season. If 2 or 3 of them go, we are seriously short. So yeah, I would bring them in if that happens. However, if all the midfielders that are there are going to stay, I don't really see the point in adding another one. That's what I mean. Good player though.
You're right. We talked about this a lot last time. We were talking about the signings before, and I said this. There's something wrong in the middle, and I can't put my finger on it, but there's no way a midfield of Raskin, Diamande, and Chuck Whanney, I think it was at Tynecastle, can be passing the ball out around so slowly in that game, and then all of a sudden get to the second half and just piss their pants and just be bullied by one change quite easily. It's almost like we're too passive in that middle. The dynamic in there, the partnerships aren't right. It's almost stagnating, and we need to fix that. When we seem to get the best out of it is when somebody sits and Raskin runs. Even under Ferguson, I felt Raskin was better as being an 8. And I think that's where Nico got in. But that's why I think Lewis Ferguson as an 8. Lewis Ferguson's a proper 8. We've got a load of players that are 6s that want to be 8s, that want to be 10s, that just aren't really anything. And that's what really kind of I struggle with. There's too many players that are passive. How many game passes our midfield by? We can't have that. No disrespect to Hearts, by the way. No disrespect to Hearts at all, but they made the one signing, didn't they? Or the one sub, sorry, half time they brought on, and all of a sudden that was it, completely different. We need to stop that. We can't keep having that. So the dynamic in that midfield definitely needs to be different than what it is now, and that's a big challenge for Derek McInnes. That spine of the team. Shankland's there, that's great. Chermiti, I think, will be fine up by Shankland unless we get that big offer. So, where else do we go?
No, on the midfield, I totally agree with you. It's just one of those things, as I say. I think our body's light, but it's specialised number 6s and a specialised number 10 that's very good, that I think we're looking at, that we need. Cammy Devlin's a decent player, mate, but and he had a very good season last season. There's no question of that. And as you say, no disrespect to Hearts, but you're absolutely spot on. That one tweak for putting the extra man in the middle of the pitch just done us, and it's not good enough. That's I think a lot of that is because they are all so similar that they can't react in different ways. They all react in a similar way also, if you know what I mean. And that's part of my problem. I look at Mo Diamande and I think as a player I like, has talent. I would look at it and say Diamande, Nico Raskin, they're two that really kind of probably should move on for their own careers, because Diamande lost his place for the Ivory Coast, didn't make the World Cup. So for him, he should probably go and get proper game time, because I can't see him getting a huge amount of game time under Derek McInnes, because Derek McInnes likes a midfield that works their backsides off, and he's not like that. Mo Diamande, he wants to pick and choose when he wants to work. So, it'll be interesting to see, but I genuinely probably wouldn't at this minute in time be overly keen on signing Cammy Devlin purely on the basis of what we have at this minute in time. But that will change, I'm sure of it. And again, you've just got to trust Derek McInnes on this. If he thinks that he's going to come in Rangers and make a huge difference, then he's the one that will stand or fall by that decision, if you know what I mean. So I don't really mind. In that sense, you just need to trust him.
I think it needs to depend on me who was getting possibly leaving. Would have swapped Diamande and things for him coming in a free Devlin, possibly because McInnes will know him. I'm going to read this because Stephen's said it about 18 times and he obviously really wants us to see it, mate. So Spurs need to sell in order to continue spending. They're spending mad money. I seen them 52 million on somebody today or something. I didn't click who it was because I was busy. But could we get Mikey Moore for a decent fee? Well, Mikey Moore's homegrown for Spurs, so that's complete profit. So they would be looking to maximise anything they got for him if they choose to sell him. You're looking at 25 million for Mikey Moore. That was what the figures were coming out of Tottenham. I said that Rangers were favourites if he was to go out on loan again because he wants to come back. If it's a loan deal, how much does it affect it if it's permanent? Could Rangers afford 25 million? I'm pretty sure that Rangers could afford 25 million if a couple of big players went out the door for the kind of money we're looking for. Mikey Moore to me is an absolute no-brainer. And there's that saying that I hate, but he's been here last season and I think that's a spot-on signing. Who would I rather sign, Moore or Ferguson? I'd rather we just got them both. If Rangers want to be where we want them to be, then I really, really would like him. I'd like them both to come. Moore will go on loan to Salzburg. That would just be a slap in the face, I think, for me. I don't think it harms Curtis either. People are saying that. If Mikey Moore come back, Curtis and Moore could easily play on the left. Are we really keeping Gassama? By the way, see Gassama's moods and his attitude that he showed since Christmas time when he didn't get to go to Monaco. Try pulling that under Derek McInnes and see how far you get to you. And by the way, I'll say this. I'm not too sure that I would be quite happy having a wee go at Derek McInnes in the presser because he's spiky. And, the man with the best tan, I think he would come after me a wee bit. So I'm not sure. I'm hoping that Dale gets it right. Because, by the way, that's the one thing about McInnes. He's never shy in saying what he wants. In pressers, he spoke up against refs. He spoke up against Celtic in the season and everything else. Dale knows. So I don't think he can take this wee ball face giving him cheek in a press conference, Kenny. So let's hope for everybody's sake that he starts well. But with regards to McInnes and pressers and stuff, I think that might be good fun.
I hope we never seen Monday night on here, for fuck's sake. I'll not get in. Listen, Yeah, I actually totally agree with you. He's very, very forthright in giving his opinion. And I like that. That's one of the things I genuinely do like about Derek McInnes. And I've met him a few times, so I'm fully aware of how he is. And he's a good lad, Derek. I mean, he is. He's a nice guy. And that's the thing that I would look at and say, yeah, be nice to him, mate. And I'll be nice to him as well. And I'll never, ever do what I did Monday night ever again. Because if he sees it, oh my goodness.
Smashing bloke, Kenny, isn't he? Great tan. Really looking forward to speaking to him.
Man. Beautiful man.
Not a fucking chance that I'm asking him. This team doesn't look coached still. Kenny, finally, Rangers have opened talks with Ryden Maguire. We've talked about him quite a bit, haven't we? He's supposed to be the big thing coming through. Now, I don't want to repeat myself, but in the circles of Rangers, everybody thinks he's cracking. And we have began talks with him. He's got a year left. His dad is Philip Maguire, who used to play for Aberdeen, Dunfermline. Lovely big guy, big Rangers man, bizarrely. He goes to all the games and everything else. He's always at away games, always see him there with his wife, because Ryden's quite always third choice, like on doing the warm-ups and all that. Great goalie, Kenny. I can't say that I've seen massive amounts. He save 3 penalties or something in one game last year, one of the cup games or something, but
it was a cup game against Celtic, wasn't it? I'm sure.
He's supposed to be a really cracking young player. So open talks with him is a real positive. If we can continue the Kyle Glasgow, Scally kind of contract stuff, then I think he'll be another really, really decent prospect to sign up.
Well, there's one really positive aspect of Derek McInnes coming. He's never been afraid to put young boys in his team. He's never been afraid to do that, to allow the kids to make a step up. From way back at St Johnstone, Kilmarnock, Aberdeen, he always allowed young players to progress. So that stands a lot of the young boys in good stead, because their prospects will be very decent. If they're good enough, he will play them. There's no doubt about it, because he's proved that many times over his career. On young Ryden, I don't know. I haven't really seen him, Stevie. I'm not. I'm a big stickler for that, saying that I don't really talk about a player if overly if I don't know and if I haven't seen him, and I'm not going to pretend that I did. However, the reviews that the guy's getting, the kids getting it, are phenomenal. And yeah, I remember his dad, and his dad's younger than me, so it shows you how old I'm getting. But it's just a situation where I would be looking at it and saying, right, okay, let's get our best young talent, I should say, get it signed up long term, and it can only be to the betterment of Rangers. For me, that's the bottom line. And as I say, the reviews on this kid, and he's very, very highly regarded within the setup. I know that. So good luck to him, and I hope we get him on a long term. I know he's got a year left, hasn't he? I think this is an early one. He's got a year left, and we're trying to just make sure that the boys as settled as he can be. So good stuff.
Finally, folks, before we go, I'm delighted to say that our live show at Bar 442 with Kevin Thompson is heading straight for a sellout. Absolutely brilliant. 90 odd tickets for sale. There is just 14 standing left and one table of 6. Absolutely unbelievable response from everybody to come and see us. Kevin Thompson will be here for around about 90 odd minutes. We'll be talking about Derek McInnes. We'll be talking about pre-season. We'll be talking about the friendlies. We'll be talking about new signings. We'll be talking about Europe. So he will be here with us. We are live on the Friday, the 24th of July. We're supposed to be playing West Ham on the Sunday at Ibrox. Is that going to change? I hope not. We are waiting to see with that. Obviously, with Derek coming in, that might have slowed down a wee bit. It will be myself, Kenny, and Scotty, hosted by Amrit, who's just an absolute crazy man when he's hosting. He's very, very funny. It's going to be a good night, Kenny. We're really looking forward to it.
Of course we are, and it will be a good night, and I've said that already. The likes of if you've got a few mates, you've got a night, that you want to go and get a few beers, get your table booked or get your ticket spot, and you'll have a cracking night down there. Come and meet us, and it's a good crack. And any other live shows we've done have always been good fun, mate, and some have been more fun than others, but it's been good fun. Yeah, as I say, Amrit is a brilliant host, and for him alone, he's worth the entrance fee, because he is a star in the making, that man. He really is. Very, very funny.
Yeah, he certainly is. I didn't really know what to expect from hosting, but if you're coming to the show, folks, then you're going to love it. There's a link to the show tickets in the comments section. Tickets are a tenner for standing. There is only, as I said, 14 of them left, and if you want a table of 6, you are paying £15 a head to sit in a booth with a table and stuff like that. So we would really love to see you. 1 table left, 14 tickets left for standing. Ranger Man, I appreciate that. I think the best thing for us, Kenny, before we finish, is I certainly want to thank the audience. We don't always get it right, I think, with the music and how people kind of feel. But I think it's important that we are honest and we try and call it as we see. Sometimes that's going to, be controversial, or sometimes people might not like it. It's really difficult because if we come on, then we're cheerleaders and we get shouted, "Oh, this is why they sit in the gantry." And if we come on and we say, "Well, there's context to this," and we're a wee bit worried about things, then people just say we're miserable bastards. So, I don't really. Sometimes it's difficult, but what I can say is we absolutely love what we do. Appreciate everyone's support.
Absolutely. Listen, I got it wrong on Monday, and having watched it back, I genuinely felt that I knew when I was speaking that I was coming across as negative. I didn't realise I was winding folk up so much. That is one of those things that you don't really realise at the time. And as I say, I'm never going to be anything other than honest on here. That's the truth of it. I'm here to give my opinion. However, there's ways of giving your opinion that don't necessarily need to piss people off for an hour. So that is taken on board. But we love what we do, Steve. We've been doing it for 2.5 years, over 2.5 years now, and the pod is very successful. And it's not nice when people come on and call you a moron and all that, because I get lots of that on Monday night. But listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, me included, and sometimes you don't bring it across properly. That's all I'm going to say. But we love what we do, and thanks everybody for watching and listening, because without you, I wouldn't be feeling quite so humble at the minute.
I listened to it back and I thought we were smashing. Maybe it was just me. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate all the comments, everybody getting involved. We really appreciate the support. If you want to become a member, you can. There is a QR code up there. If you want to click on it, as little from as 99p a month. What do you get? You get some big interviews free. Current big interview is with Derek Parlane, telling his Ranger story. I think he's episode 8. Next up is Mark Walters in a couple of weeks. And we're really looking forward to that. Davey Haird's doing that. Mark Walters is one of his very big favourites. Davey's away on holiday, which won't surprise you. He's on every 20 seconds, isn't he, away on holiday, Kenny? But yeah, so really appreciate everybody. You can also watch the shows ad-free, which people complain about as well, but it's a way we can get round of it with YouTube. So for 99p, you get all that, and it helps support us and helps us grow. So we really appreciate that. Kenny, my thanks again, mate. Well done. Really appreciated it. Nobody will be upset, especially as your comments about Paul Sheeran and stuff like that and what you would do with him, which we're all said in jest. Maybe.
No, thoroughly enjoyed that, Stevie. Good to get back in the saddle after a difficult couple of days. So, yep, enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're still waiting, ladies and gentlemen, on the official Derek McInnes announcement. No doubt as soon as we go off air, that'll come. Huge thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Cliveview Fire Protection, the Joinery Arfield Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, Candid, and rydc.co.uk. A few of them are leaving. We are looking for new sponsors. We are talking to new sponsors. So excitement kind of keeps going for us, and hopefully we just get on board the Derek McInnes Blue and White Army, or the Derek McInnes train. I don't know what these young people call it nowadays, but he'll be here soon. We went off air. It's 19:12. I'm going for Rangers to announce it at 7:30 just to really get on our tits. But anyway, Derek McInnes will be the next Rangers manager. England, Croatia tonight. Do we fancy an upset, Kenny, quickly?
Yes.
Interesting. On that note, have a good evening. Enjoy the football, guys. If not, have a really good evening, and we'll speak to you all again. I want to say Friday night. I don't think there's a show going out on Thursday. The history show's out tomorrow. That's right. Davey's next round of history, a week in Rangers history. That's a new Thursday night gig on here. Friday night, the guys will be back live. Maybe by that time, Derek McInnes will be announced. Speak to you all again soon. Bye for now.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Athol Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.